talking about in your workplaces. The right to work states, we say the right to work for less. There's 24 of them in the United States. And here's something that you need to talk about. Because right to work states are in essence eliminating the middle class totally. Right to work states, they spend $3,000 less per year per child in education. Family income is about $6,500 a year less. In workplaces, the vitality rate is 36% higher. The infrastructures are worse. Hospitals are less. We can start to walk through about what it means and the negative impact on communities. And that's what it's about. It's about those with money having more. So there's not the right to work states. They'll try to make it sound like somehow we create employment. The reality is the poster child for right to work states is Alabama. They lost 1/3 of all their manufacturing jobs in the first 7 years. So if in fact that's supposed to create jobs, I can start to walk through the examples that it's just the opposite. So it's really about us surrendering hope. Because that's what it's about. We have to start to generate some enthusiasm to show young people that there's a different way to do things. We do need to create an organization, to build an organization that will involve young people. We need an organization that we're going to encourage young people to join. Young people today are working in precarious jobs. Think about it. And I talked about it earlier on. They did everything right, and now they're working in part-time precarious jobs. And they're talking about joining unions. You know why? Because when they used to leave college and university, they used to do that for a year or 2 years while they lived with their parents. And then they would finally get their job that they were trained for. Those jobs are gone. So young people today are feeling totally betrayed, and they should feel betrayed. They are betrayed, that's why. So we need to involve them in our movement, because now they start talking about organizing in non-traditional jobs. They're talking about organizing in second cup coffee shops. Watch what's going on in the United States, where workers that don't belong to unions are striking in McDonald's and Burger Kings and different fast food restaurants. Why shouldn't they get good paying jobs? Why shouldn't they? Even if they're stuck in those types of jobs, McDonald's, last time I checked, they do very well. The fast food chains do very well. Take a look at the supermarket, take a look at Loblaws, take a look at the Weston family, take a look at the type of incredible wealth there is in jobs that are predominantly low paying. So there is a better way to do this, and we need to talk to people about a better way to do it. And we do that by having the faith in the workplaces. So we've got a lot of work still to do it. We've got a lot of work still to do it, Honda, but we're going to do this. We're going to do it together. We're going to do it with your leadership in this room. So you need to be a part of the debate. We want you to follow. We want you, to lead. We don't want you to follow as it relates to the pattern. We want you to have some real input into collective bargaining. We want you to have some real input into your sector. But more importantly, we want you to have real input in your workplace. So we can do that together. Thank you all very much for being here today.
I just wanted to give Mike an opportunity to chat briefly about his bargaining, and then hope to have questions for both Terry and Mike. Mike Van Volkel.
Thank you, sir. Good morning. I just want to go over some of the stuff in our contract. I got a lot of emails over the last week, a ton of emails from the other guys. It was fantastic. I'll start with the biggest one by far, was the contract workers. We had a rock solid committee. We stayed 3 weeks until in March. Couldn't get the contract we wanted then, even though we agreed to go in early, which was fine with us. It was a free swing at the bat, and couldn't get it. Went back in for 1 week when our contract was due, when there was a strike deadline facing them. We were able to get the 300, over 300 members that were full-time contract workers. We were able to put every single one of them on full-time. Absolutely phenomenal for them and their families. Our contract officially started Tuesday this past week. We voted Sunday, so our contractors started on Monday. Tuesday they became full-time, no probation period. They get pension benefits. They can post on Tuesday, and this week they took full advantage of the posting board, so they can start moving around with some free. It was absolutely huge. We also have about 120 people laid off right now. There was an arbitration case a year and a half ago now with the EMD plant that closed in London. So the arbitrator there ruled that they could bump and they can be hired 120 something people over that previous 6 months. So those people did lose their job. That's the way the arbitrator ruled it. And they were gone. They were contracts. They got cut. We did not leave them behind either. They have recall rights for the life of the contract, and every single one of them for sure will come back as a full-time worker. A couple of other highlights that are huge. We've always had mandatory vacation in our plan. We have we have pretty well 180 people off every single day of our plan on vacation. It's a huge job creator. Obviously, we have to have about 180 extra people in our plan to cover all the different vacations. It's huge. We're able to maintain it, and we actually expanded on it. It's only a little box in the highlight, but I believe it's going to be coming. I think it'll be one of the best programs out there ever for auto and other plans too. We now have a bank time program established in our plan. We've been working Saturdays for this will be 4 years now in September. The next year and a half for sure looks like it's going to be every Saturday. So what we can do now with our bank time is if you work Saturday, you can get paid time and a half, so you get 12 hours paid. If you don't want to get paid, you can take 12 hours and put it into your vacation bank, and then you get a day and a half off of pay. In 1 month, you can get an extra 40 hours off with pay. It will go over absolutely phenomenal our plan. And it's voluntary programs. If you want to get paid, you get paid. If you don't, take all the time off you want. That also will drive more jobs. That was damn tough to get, but I think it'll be huge. We did instill enshrine in our contract now, and it's huge in our plan, as it probably is yours, especially the assembly department. We have a production standards rep walks around. Every single job is timed in that plant. Every movement you do is timed. And they try and load the jobs up to 100% of your job. You're always arguing with them because they'll try and load them up to 102%. You haven't got time to even scratch your ass or do anything. So we do have a guy full-time who goes around and disputes them. There's an official policy, but now once a month, we have a third party come in, like a mediator comes in, he sits down, we present our case, they present their case, he has to rule one way or the other. Whatever he rules within 48 hours is now the new set time for that job. So if we say it's 103%, the company says no, it's 92%, arbitrator comes in and rules, they have to go over to that job and take off that percentage of time. So it's absolutely phenomenal. If nothing else, it gives you a huge say and it keeps them a lot more honest trying to do the job up. Another big thing that we got, since 2001, we've had $40.4 million in our sub-fund. That program is for layoffs. If you ever want to close the plant, you divide that money between your members. We had a huge argument over this. They tell us they're putting a new addition on our plant in the yard. The bone shop going up, it's 2/3 done. So we wanted more money for the members. That way, if they ever want to play games, if they ever think they're going to leave or close our plant up, we were able to negotiate $190 million in that fund now instead of $40 million. That averages about $90,000 a person. So if they are going to close the plant, at least you're not going to be enough sitting there with an empty wall. At least you're going to get roughly a year, a good year, solid year's pay. Another thing we enshrined in our program, or in our contract that we started about 2.5 years ago, was an MSO program, mandatory Saturday option. This is now enshrined in our contract. We wrote it in there. You do not need a supervisor to sign this. Again, it's almost like the bank time. If you do not want to work a Saturday, we have a limit in our contract that we enforce. You can't work more than 12 hours on any day. So if a guy really wants the money, he wants to work 12 hours on a Saturday, because we're 3 shifts, 6 days a week. If a guy really wants the money and you 8 Saturdays, you want to take every Saturday off, 2 guys can then work their overtime. So if 2 guys want to work 12 hours, and there's a lot of guys that do, they can work their overtime. All you guys do is sign a piece of paper. He signs it, you throw it on the supervisor's desk. He can't say no. He can't say anything about it. You just drop it on his desk. He gets every Saturday off. Other guys can go 12 hours.
Yeah!
In our industry, we've done it for about 2.5 years. The company doesn't mind it because they're paying you time and a half, or they're paying another guy time and a half. They don't care. So they have a few objections to it, but overall, it works fantastic. Another thing we did enshrine, that's always been in our contract, I'll just say because a lot of people here might not know about it, and it doesn't make the brochures. We can wear headsets in our plant, have for 15 years now, 95. So we wear headsets due to the company. Maybe 2.5 years ago, tried to get the XM to come into our plant. We had talks with XM. They wanted over $100,000 to wire the plant to make it XM capable, capabilities, whatever. So they refused to do it. We went and talked to XM, told them we got over 2,000 people in the plant, actually over 2,500. So we did acquire the plant 2 years ago. XM paid for the whole thing. We now have I think the only plant in Canada probably has an entire plant that's XM. You wear your little headset, you've got over 200 channels of absolutely static free. Listen to the Leafs lose now 3 times a week. It is absolutely phenomenal. And if you watch it, I'll say out of an 8-hour day, probably 4 hours a day, you got a headset on there, 4 hours, you're talking to guys, you're shooting the shit laughing, but the guys that, it's just fantastic. There's a lot of creature stuff that we get that don't make brochures that really help the game. Those are the big ones by far. It was a phenomenal contract. We had 89.8, well, 90% acceptance. And I'll tell you, to walk through the plant, there's always a few guys that ride pretty hard and tough to get along with. This week, obviously, the plant is absolutely phenomenal. A lot of the guys, but especially the contract guys, they don't even come up and shake your hand, they come up and hug you and say what a difference to the family. It was pretty cool. We walked through that plant. Very nice.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, there goes Phil. Okay, I got Phil there, and then
Just a question for Mike, that XM, does that include the subscription, or you just make it available